All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today we are going to talk about taxes. And I know this isn't something that I normally talk about. I am heavy on the automotive stuff, pretty much only about automotive stuff. But I thought this would be an interesting topic to talk about now that I've been doing YouTube for about 2 years seriously. This is my second time doing taxes with my YouTube income. And I was really nervous that first year, but this year I was definitely much more prepared, and everything went exactly like I expected. So I thought this would just be a good thing to kind of throw out there for anybody that maybe just recently got monetized. You're not really sure like how to do your taxes, or for somebody that's kind of anxious about how taxes will be next year. This can give you a little bit of insight on how to do things really simply to make sure that you're doing them right, as well as making sure you're not paying more than you have to. So hopefully you guys find this useful or just interesting, especially for those of you that are wondering, like, is my car basically free? Is like all these parts basically a tax write-off, et cetera, et cetera? I'll try to answer that in this video for you. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. So the biggest thing, I guess, that I like to make people understand is how you're classified if you're making income on YouTube. And a lot of people try to make it overly complicated. They're trying to develop a business and create an LLC and all this stuff to structure around their YouTube income. And that's not really a problem. It's just not really necessary either. If you're creating content on YouTube and getting paid for it, then you are technically classified as an independent contractor. So you are a self-employed individual that makes money on an individual contract basis. How that works with YouTube is, of course, they take your content, publish it, and they generate income through ads, super thanks, all of the different methods that people can support you. And all of that income coming in is then split, and they give you a portion of those proceeds because you're the creator of the content. So it's a pretty simple model. I mean, you can kind of even think about it like if you were a music artist, for example. They create music or create their art. They have a company help them publish it, get their streams going, put it in videos and all kinds of commercials and all this stuff. And it's generating a bunch of income. And even though the main company is getting a significant portion of that, they also have to cut a check to the artists themselves because they created it. So the way that kind of comes out to you during tax time from YouTube is on the form 1099 MISC. And this form is what you give to any contractor that does work for you, and you pay them above a certain threshold. I think it's around $600. So if you made more than $600 from YouTube last year, then you should be getting this 1099 MISC form. And right in the second box, that's basically the main thing you're focused on. It's called royalties. Again, just like what you hear about with a music artist, these are your royalties that were awarded to you for the content that you published on YouTube. Of course, from there, the process is very simple. You use that amount, determine how much taxes you should have paid, and that's how much you'll owe at the end of the year. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I know sometimes you look at YouTube Studio, and for example, in 2022, if you look at January to December, the amount that you made on YouTube Studio doesn't match what's on your royalties. And that's because they only document what they actually paid to you, and you get paid a month after you get the views. So if you got, views in January, you're going to get paid for those views in February. And the same thing in January, the amount that you got paid was for December the year before. So if you're looking at your taxes for a specific tax year, you basically want to look at December of the year before up until November of that tax year, and then the numbers should match up exactly. So now that you've got that figured out, whether you'll get a 1099 form or not, you go ahead and get those numbers, and now what do you do with it? Well, it's very simple again. If you just want to file your taxes the easy way, go to TurboTax, H&R Block, TaxAct, basically any of the major companies that create tax software, and they all have a self-employed version. Since you're a self-employed individual, they'll have a portion where you can put in your 1099 form, as well as any other income that you make doing freelance work, and they'll help calculate exactly how much tax you owe from that amount. So it's really simple. Again, you don't have to go to like a specific business accountant or some kind of special tax advisor to get this situated. I do it from home every year. I just do it on my computer, send my taxes in, works flawlessly every single time. So I'm a big fan of keeping it simple. If you don't want to do it yourself, of course, you can go out and find a financial advisor to help you do all of that. But I just like to let people know that you don't have to make it that complicated. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about, and probably one of the biggest questions people ask me, is how do you take advantage of tax write-offs? And tax write-offs are great. If you're running a business, the whole purpose of a tax write-off is to allow you to run that business and invest in it without having a tax implication on those investments. So if you buy any equipment, anything to help you, sell, or any expenses for shipping, anything that is going to support your business, that is a tax write-off. So for example, with my videos, everything's related to my car. So anything on my car is a tax write-off. All of my parts are a tax write-off. The gas that I use is a tax write-off. The phone that I'm filming with is a tax write-off. Everything that I use to create my content and generate income is a tax write-off. And again, the whole point is just to help your business thrive and not have a negative impact by taxes that should hopefully support our overall economy. Now, the only thing that you must consider is a tax write-off is for a business expense that's 100% allocated to your business. So even though my car and a lot of the components on it are tax write-offs, I cannot write off 100% of those components. If I'm using it for anything other than work and there's any personal use included in how I'm using those products, then I can't write off 100% of it. So typically when I'm talking to people, it sounds like 10 to 20% is a reasonable amount. Maybe you have a computer that's just dedicated to, your video editing and stuff like that, then that would be different. But if you have one that you also use just for emails and watching videos and other things on your personal time, then you need to kind of determine what percentage of that use is for your business versus personal, and use that in your calculation for how much your tax write-off actually is. Now, this is where things can get complicated. So a lot of people like to have specific business credit cards, business equipment, and everything separate so they don't have to determine what that split is. But that's how I do things, again, just to keep it simple. I don't want to buy two of everything just so I have one for my business and one for personal, especially because, in general, I feel like my channel is relatively small. It's doing well, but I don't feel comfortable like investing that much money in my videos when I'm not making that much money to make it back. And that is also something to keep in mind on as well, because if your tax write-offs overwhelm your actual taxable income, they're going to start, kind of questioning how things are going. And if you do that too often to the point where you're not making money and you're just investing more than you're making, they can actually audit you and reclassify it as a hobby. Business should be something that's designed to make money. So if you're not making money and you're trying to do everything you can to write off as much as possible to the point where it looks like you're not making money, especially year after year, just keep in mind that you're starting to increase the chances of an audit risk. So just be honest, right? Be realistic. How much are you using your phone for business? How much are you using your computer for business? All of these things should have an appropriate allocation to them. And if it's, 5%, 10%, whatever that time is, put that into, your tax software and it'll write it off for you and give you a nice little deduction so that you minimize how much you actually owe. So yeah, honestly, it's really that simple for me. Again, you can make it really complicated. You can drop off the paperwork off at an accountant's office and just have them do it for you. But this is something that I think is able to keep it really simple, and you can get everything done and not completely screw yourself over with how much you made on YouTube, especially when you get like W-2s from a day job. This can kind of have a really big impact on your tax liability because suddenly you have a huge chunk of income that wasn't included in your tax calculations every month when you got paid. So yeah, hopefully this helps you guys out and makes you feel a little bit more comfortable doing it on your own. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.